This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Cabo Jim Schaller.
Welcome, good neighbors, to the Good Neighbor Podcast, episode number 207. Today we have guest, or good neighbor, Michelle Matuszak from Hodges Life Celebration Center, part of Dignity Memorial in Bonita Springs. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So for our listeners, I guess, why don't we share a little bit about what you do over?
Absolutely. So Hodges Life Celebration Center opened about a year ago, and actually 2 years ago now. I'm dating myself. We are part of the Dignity Memorial group of cremation and funeral providers in North America. But locally in Bonita Springs, we are dedicated to helping families celebrate life in meaningful ways. So we are standing out in the community by creating personalized experiences that reflect the individuality of those we're serving.
I love it. I love it. So I guess I got to ask the question, how do you get involved in an industry like this?
So for me, actually, I started in this profession when I was very young. I was only 19. I saw a funeral home opening in my neighborhood as I commuted back and forth to college, and saw that they were opening and invited myself to the open house, and then asked for a job because I was interested in the profession enough to learn more about it. So yeah.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, most people wouldn't make that connection, but good for you.
It was bold as a young woman, but I was interested in the aspect of really serving families at a high concierge level and taking care of them, and really being able to empathize with their needs when a loss occurred.
Exactly. And that's a big thing. People need some of that compassion and direction when things like that happen. So talking about challenges, obviously being involved in the industry or even personally, everybody's gone through some type of challenge along their journey. Is there something that you can look back at now and kind of help define who you are today?
Well, I don't know if it is relatable, but I've been doing this job for about 30 years. And I always was a person who would strive to say that I did empathize with people in their loss. But my own mom passed away 2 years ago at the early age of 68. And it really wasn't until then that I can say now I've sat on the other side of the table, and all of those decisions and selections and all of the thought that goes into planning a tribute, whether it be for a traditional funeral service or a celebration of life, I really had to identify with those feelings. And so that experience is really what I can say today is how I know that I can feel what somebody else is feeling, is because I did that with my family.
And having somebody like yourself to help guide through that time, because it is difficult. A lot of emotions and things are going on at the time, and your head's probably not in the clearest position to make the right decision, but if you have somebody like yourself to guide you, it makes that path a little bit easier.
Well, what's interesting is I've definitely used that example now really to explain the importance of having the conversations about what your wishes are when you die. And the reasoning behind having those conversations, because when my mom passed away, nobody had ever talked about what her wishes were. And then instead of being a grieving daughter, I really went to work, so to speak. So I wasn't able to process my grief because I was working. And so now looking back at it, I can tell families any time other than the time that the death occurs is the best time to have that conversation. Not, in the moment when you're standing around your loved one's deathbed and wondering what her wishes were. So that's kind of another part of that puzzle piece that really puts me more in tune with why I'm here and what my purpose is now. So.
Absolutely. And, and like you mentioned, you need time to grieve as well too. And, and if those wishes aren't known, especially there are some families that really don't get along and say, no, they wanted this, no, they wanted that. Now you're bickering at a time when you should be grieving. But I do know you have something kind of like a pre-planning guide as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, part of our business is, educating people to the importance of pre-planning their funeral or cremation arrangements, or even their celebration of life selections. But we do offer to families who show interest in having the discussion the opportunity to receive a personal planning guide. So if somebody wants to meet with us and, talk about what their wishes are, that's kind of our gift for having that time with us, is giving them something to take home and really work through their selections and their choices. And it's something that you can put away for your family so that they know what choices you've made. If you have pre-planned or pre-funded any of those arrangements, this is a booklet that they can kind of put into their binder of important documents to save for families for that time when it does become necessary and they need it.
Absolutely. I've filled one out personally, and I've distributed it to my family. I said, this is what I want.
Good.
Don't mess it up, so glad because now.
I do ask that a lot of times, when I'm having conversations, have you made your own prearrangements? And most of the time people give me, funny looks, or they give me excuses like, well, I'm too young for that, or I'm not ready for that. And I think it's funny because really our death is the only thing that we know is a guarantee. Right? We know that we're going to die one day. So it's pretty much the only thing that you should consider is what you want to happen when you die. But
yet there are a lot of people that don't even want to think about that. So I know. So surrounding the industry, are there any maybe myths or misconceptions that we could kind of clear up for our listeners?
Yeah. And I'm actually, I'm glad you asked that because, I think that a lot of people see the funeral home or the funeral and cremation industry as a business, and specifically, a money-making business. But if more people could look at what we do and understand that many of us strive to really build relationships and get to know people so that at the time of a death, we can honor and celebrate their lives in unique and meaningful ways because we're taking the time to learn about them, to get to know them, and then to be able to share those stories, memories, and details to kind of present a life story.
Absolutely. And that helps a lot. That goes a long way because you want to tell the right story. You want to share the right stories.
Yeah.
Do you notice anything that's, I want to say, trending in the industry lately?
Absolutely. And honestly, our building opened as a result of times and trends changing. The Hodges Life Celebration Center here in Bonita Springs kind of was the idea of Earl and Thelma themselves to create a community-centric place. Many families are choosing cremation, but they're also choosing to celebrate lives versus having kind of more of a somber, mournful experience. So we created an event space where we can do everything for these families under one roof. So we're incorporating music, we're incorporating catering, food, beverage service, even bars, wine, really whatever a family wants that would feel normal and comfortable to them in celebrating their life. We have the ability to provide that under one roof, which really is what makes us stand out.
That is great because there will be tequila at my funeral.
Maybe mine too.
Right. So I have to ask, are you from Southwest Florida originally?
So originally, I am actually from Michigan. I was born in Detroit, so I not necessarily a city girl, but I was born in the city. I attended Wayne State University in Detroit and studied mortuary science and earned a bachelor's degree a long time ago. And my husband had an opportunity with his employer to move our family about 10 years ago. And because I work with Dignity Memorial, and that is who I was employed with in Michigan, I was able to transfer here first to the Naples area, and then I was promoted to manage this new location in Bonita about 2 years ago.
Very nice, very nice. So I know your time can be very demanding with work and everything, but when you do have a moment of free time, what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
So I am a wife and a mom. I have 3 what I call almost grown children. They're 22, 20, and 17, and a 10-year-old yellow lab. So most of my time really is spent at home. But when we get away, we like to do family trips. We like to travel locally and extended. And I really try and take my dog out every night for nightly walks. I enjoy everything that people that move to Florida enjoy, being out in this wonderful weather, going to the beach, watching a sunset, and also just like our restaurant and food choices here. It makes it a really nice place to live and work.
Absolutely. And it's that time of year where we don't want to be shoveling snow, right?
Right, exactly.
So is there one thing you wish our listeners knew about what you do that maybe they're not aware of?
Yeah, I wish more listeners weren't so apprehensive about the conversation of funeral and cremation service and celebrating lives. I wish it were easier for people to know that we are just like they are, and we're here to help them. And just having those conversations sometimes is the hardest part. Once people learn who I am and what I'm doing, I do think that they find it easier to come and talk about funeral and cremation service, but we're kind of taboo. And I think I wish more people just looked at it as a necessary conversation, and that we're, just like they are, and that it's an easy conversation to have once you accept that it's a necessary one.
Absolutely. So how would our listeners go about getting a hold of you if they had some questions or, wanted to learn more?
Yeah, I think that, I always invite visitors just to come and look at our location first and foremost. If you're not aware, and this will be a smirk on some listeners' faces, our building is actually built on the site of the old Chen's Chinese buffet restaurant. So just that is a conversation starter, and coming to see that we've completely renovated this space from floor to ceiling, front to back, inside and out. And it doesn't look, feel, or act like a restaurant space anymore. So I invite people to come in and just see for themselves first and foremost. But if that's uncomfortable, we do have a website. It's HodgesCelebratoLife.com. And like I said, we're located conveniently right in front of the tax collector's office. So death and taxes are 2 inevitabilities. And anybody's welcome to come in or even call me. Our number is 239-366-5333. And I welcome phone calls, visits. Check out our website. You can see a few photos, but mostly just come in and ask the questions and start the conversation.
Absolutely. Michelle, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being such a good neighbor, and I hope to see you out in the community soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpestero.com. That's gnpestero.com. Or call 239-296-2621.